You'll notice, get a nice peer inside here. Let's try locking it. Right there. So that lever holds this in place and keeps it from releasing. And then if we unlock, there you go. If I lock the vehicle, I can't even get my fingers in there to unlock it. Look at that. So it doesn't even lift all the way up. So let's try unlocking. And look at that, I can lift this up much higher, release it with my finger. So all in all, I think that's a success. Hi, my name's Andrew Skimp, and today I'm going to show you the new version 2.0 of the Lasfit Stealth Automatic Anti-Theft Hood Lock System for Jeep Wranglers and Jeep Gladiators. And this one in particular is going to be installed on a 2022 Jeep Gladiator. First off, I'm going to show you the Jeep, show you how it currently operates stock, and talk a little bit about why I'm excited to check out this system, particularly the new upgraded version 2.0. All right, let's talk about the hood lock system as it currently operates. Basically, it's this thing that's been kind of part of Jeep heritage for a while. A couple latches on the side, nothing inside the cabin, and a lever in the center. That's it. Now I'm inside. Jeep's locked right now, from a security standpoint, this is the first vehicle I've had, and one of the few vehicles I think out on a production scale that allows you to unlock the hood without getting into the cabin or without unlocking the vehicle. To me, that's a little bit of a security issue. There's a few reasons why you might not want to lock the hood, or sorry, there's a few reasons why you might want to keep the hood secure when your vehicle's locked. One, well, rare. I mean, it's easy to steal a battery out of something like this. Two, if you have any aftermarket components in here, there's a lot of expensive stuff you can add to a Jeep, just empty every pocket. And so that includes stuff that's under the hood, whether it's a mount and a air compressor for onboard air, whether cold air intake, whether it's just kind of blinging it out with some nice looking components. There's a lot of stuff you can put under the hood, and it's super easy to just open it and anyone take really anything if they know how to pull it off. Another reason, I've been seeing some recent articles online about, seen it once on a Jeep, not on a Gladiator, on a Wrangler, but same concept. And then I've seen it on a lot of other Dodge products, or not Dodge products, Dodge vehicles. I think Chargers and Challengers were the common ones. But in big cities, I don't know how they're doing it, but they get under the hood, and those are ones where you actually have to get into the vehicle. But they get under the hood, they go over to the computer, wherever, PCM, ECM, wherever it is. There's some components under here where they can access the system of the vehicle, reprogram a blank key, and then just drive off with it. Now, I'm not too concerned about that. I think that's a rare thing, but nonetheless, it's still something that's kind of scary, especially if you live in a larger city. I'm sure they're going to have a firmware or some software update for the vehicle that might be able to prevent that, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, so those are a few different reasons why. I'm sure there's more reasons I've left out, but regardless, I like to be able to have my hood locked, or my hood only allowed to be opened from the interior when the vehicle's locked, in comparison, yeah, which it can't do now. The alarm doesn't go off, nothing. So let's talk about a few of the other solutions people have come up with. I believe there's various companies, a ton of them, that make lockable latches here. So you can actually have a lock and key, whether it's a regular key or a barrel lock. There's companies that, or I think a company, I think it's Bolt, that makes a lock right here. And on the, unfortunately for those with the trail cam, that's not an option. I can't lock it here. And even then, on the Wrangler, it comes with the Grille insert, but on the Gladiator, the Grille insert doesn't fit. You actually have to cut the honeycomb to get it to fit, which I think's something you shouldn't have to do with a production-ready system. Yeah, so what's unique about this Lasfit system is it actually locks this lever. So can you actually see that lever from the video? Yep. It actually locks this lever. Inside here, it actuates an arm that comes out and holds this and prevents it from opening. So even if you undo the hood latches, you can't get in here to lift up the hood and unlock it in the center. So that, and the way that actuates is via the key. The lock-unlock remote fob, as well as the lock-unlock from the doors, will actuate that arm. So you don't need you don't need to manually come over here and lock here. You don't need a separate key, another key to really lose if you do one of the latch based options. Yeah, so that's really kind of the reason why I've chosen this system over the others, why I want a system in the first place to have this locked. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the components of the system, and while I go over the parts that it comes with, how it really differs from the version 1.0 of the system. So let's take a look at that now. Alright, so I've already opened the package, so not everything's coming exactly how it arrives. I just wanted to take a look at the parts. But yeah, let's talk about this system. So we have a few components in here. Let me go ahead and grab things out and we can take a look. So, and also talk about the differences between 2.0 and 1.0 of this system. So the biggest thing you'll notice on this new system versus the others, if you've seen it or started doing research, and the part that makes this particularly nice and why I like it over the version 1.0 is this whole unit. You see this coming out of it? This is a manual release. So what it does is it manually releases the lock. You might be able to see that in there. If I angle this a little bit, you can see here's the latch. So this is the system that actually prevents that lock from opening when you have it actually installed. So the previous 1.0 system, it had a cigarette light adapter. If you had no power to your vehicle, it had a cigarette light adapter to connect to another vehicle, Or if you could get power to your vehicle another method, you could do that. And then once you had power, you could use this button, or you could use your key fob. You could do whatever you wanted. You had power to your vehicle, you could operate this. Now, if you have a dead battery, you don't have a vehicle around you, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you don't really have that option. You can't jump your vehicle in order to get this to open, especially if you have a dead battery, which obviously means you need to get into the hood, under the hood, to replace the battery. That doesn't work. They've also talked about other methods for, you could pull the airlines out of this, blowing it. There's other ways, but not just a simple pull trigger like this. So it doesn't matter if you have power or not, and you can actually see this right here. See if you can see that as I pull. So you can pull it, and it actually pulled back. So that was an option that didn't exist in the original version of the system. And actually, if you look up the original system online, on forums, things like that, that's the biggest thing that they talk about, was the lack of that. Kudos to Lasfit for listening to the customer and providing this in the new improved system, because that was actually something I particularly made me hesitant for their system, and I love that they now have that option. Now let's actually talk about how this whole thing works. I've already started to look at this a little bit. So it has these threaded connectors for the hose line. This goes under the hood. Hose line connects on these threaded connectors. You have this for the firewall, which is another improvement. I noticed. I've seen other install videos of the version 1.0 system, and they have you drill a hole in the firewall and run the lines, these lines, and now this line as well. So now you don't have to drill through that plastic firewall grommet, and they now provide a grommet that you can run all the lines through. So that's nice. No drill method. We have this OBD2 port connection, so it's also fused as well. So you can see the fuse here. And then a pass-through OBD2 connector. So I always like it when a company gives you this pass-through. That means you can still use your OBD2 connector while this device is plugged in, which is something that, I mean, some of the other systems I've played around with, it plugs in and it uses up your OBD2 port, and then you can't plug anything else into it because it doesn't have this pass-through. So in addition to that, it has a couple wires coming off of it, and these go to the various components of the system. As we walk through the install process, you'll see all those plug in. Some zip ties. They give you a decent amount, so that'll be for routing some of the hose, possibly some of the wiring. Probably going to need it. We will see. Some parts for mounting, for mounting this and this. So both onto the plate as well as the plate into the vehicle. And then the button. So this button, if you have power, this is another manual release option. Instead of using the key fob or the door locking and unlocking to unlatch it, you can press this as long as you have power. Again, that's you have to have power option. So we have that. We have the mounting bracket, and we have pretty much the controller of everything. So this actuates the air it goes to the other side of these lines and causes this to move in and out. It also has the connector that goes to the CAN bus, so it's really the brains of everything. It's looking at your system, it's looking at your vehicle, and determining when the vehicle's locked and unlocked. So it says on here 2018 Jeep Wrangler JL. This system works on 2018 Jeep Wranglers, so basically that JL model, so 2018 and above. On Jeep Gladiators, they were released in 2019. They are the JT connotation, and so 2019 JT and above, this system also works on, and that's what we're installing now is a 2022 Jeep Gladiator JT. One thing I didn't get clarification on the new system. I know the old system doesn't work on a manual vehicle. I have an automatic, so it's not a problem for me, but I will get clarification on that to make sure that, I mean, maybe check the descriptions, maybe I'll make a note on the video itself, but whether or not this works on a manual, because I don't believe it does, because the old system didn't, and I'm not sure if that's a limitation of the CAN bus system built into the vehicle itself. So now I'm going to start on the install process, and we will see how seamless that goes. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of components, doesn't look too difficult to install. Oh, before I do that, I will go over all the parts that are going to be needed for the install process, which there's not a whole lot that's needed, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. All right, so what will you need to install this on a Jeep? So some of these are pretty much things everyone has. There isn't a whole lot you can see that's required, and a lot of this is even optional. These little wire cutters for cutting the zip ties down. I mean, really anything to cut a zip tie will function. So just some basic wire cutters. These are both trim tool pullers and fastener pullers. So this is for the trim, this is for fasteners. Those things, you can get a flathead or something in there. I wouldn't, on the plastic trim, I'd recommend probably just pulling by hand. But on those little fasteners and things like that, the clips, this works great, but you can really get by without both of these. Basic screwdriver, so that's very easy, everyone has. So you'll need an 8mm crescent wrench and a 10mm. These both have to be crescent wrenches, not a socket. And as we go through the installation video, you'll see why. But in addition, you'll need a 13mm. So this can either be a crescent wrench, a socket, whatever you want. And then a T30 Torx bit. And it can be either or, but I only have it in a socket wrench style, easily and readily available. And then some electrical tape. This is also an optional item. This is only for me helping keep all the wires and bundles and everything together while I'm pushing them through various areas on the vehicle. You'll see why I'm using that. But really, that's it. So this is all kind of the optional equipment over here. And this is all the mandatory items, which really isn't a whole lot. But yeah, I'm hoping this will go pretty smoothly, but we'll see in a few minutes if it does. All right, let's go ahead and begin, shall we? So first, you want to open your hood. Everyone knows how to do this. And you'll notice in here, the first thing you want to do is we're going to be taking off the front grille, or at least partially taking it off. I believe the instructions call to fully remove it. Unfortunately, you can see my winch is super close on the bottom, so it's really hard to get to these pins holding in place, or these clips holding in place. So I'm just going to undo the top. There's 6 of them, and I'll bring you closer to look at that. There's 6 clips that you use a trim removal tool or a clip removal tool to remove this. And then I'll just pull it back. If you have the ability, it's probably easier to remove it. If you have a trail cam, you'll have to remember that this is also connected to the grille. So there's some connections on the back of that. When you pull this off, you want to make sure those are disconnected if you're going to take the whole thing off. But let me get the tool. Right, so we talked about the clip removal tool earlier. Bring you close in, take a look. Here you can see all the clips I was talking about.
You can use a flathead or one of these tools to kind of pop up the first center portion of it. Once you get that far enough, you can just grab the whole thing out. See, so this will come out, followed by the clip underneath. And you'll want to do that for every single one of these. So there should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. The other side, they're just mirrored. So if you can't see my hand, they're just mirrored on the other side. Once you've gotten all 6 out, you'll notice this will just pop back. Kind of just give it a nice tug, and it comes right out. And then, like I said, there's a connector here for the trail cam. There's actually 2 connectors, one for the water line and then one for the electrical. The water line's right up here. You can disconnect it up here. The electrical is actually down way in the corner down here where my right hand is. I'm not going to disconnect those from mine because I'm just going to pull this back and have it lean against the winch. But if you want to remove the whole thing, just make sure, if you have the trail cam option, to check those 2 connections before fully pulling it off. So now we're going to take a T30 Torx bit and loosen these connections right here. Now that you got those off, we're going to go ahead and grab the part. As you can see on mine, it's a little different. It's a prototype part, so these parts are elongated, or I should say sample part. We'll go ahead and install this now, and I will be re-recording this portion once I have the actual production part. Now that that is in place, you can go ahead and bolt this back down. So once you have it on, you'll notice you got this wire. You got, which is the manual release that's connected to it. You'll also notice the hose lines, and one of the hose lines has a white line on it, or a white piece of tape. That's signifying the white dot on this side. We got a black dot on this side for the solid without a white piece of tape on it. So that makes it easy for connecting on this side, and then also in the interior when you're going to have to connect the other side of the line. So you'll have them kind of color coded for ease. Unfortunately, I lost the connection on this when I was modifying the sample. Drilling must have vibrated it loose and it went somewhere. So I'm going to use worm clamp for now, but when I receive the production part, I will use the appropriate connection. So you just pretty much press fit on and tighten up. And this is where the where the 10mm wrench comes into place. You'll want to tighten this down, which unfortunately you can't do with the socket wrench. You'll just need to use a 10mm, a crescent wrench. which isn't the end of the world, just the reason I noted it in parts needed. So after you have the lines connected, you want to take all three lines, kind of zip tie them and clean up the area here and have them route this direction underneath the driver's side headlight. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up and show you what that looks like. All right, now as you can see, I added a few zip ties. Just keep both the wire together and have it go down along this. I've already cut them with my wire cutters. So you can use scissors, something just to cut off the ends. Additionally, you'll see that I put one on the wire thing or put one on all the cables together just to hold them together. And now we're going to move on to fishing the line down there. All right, this one will be a little bit harder to see, but you can see the line here. What I decided to do was take some electrical tape and put it at spots on the line just to keep all of this bundle together. You could use zip ties for that. And then on the last one, just cut off the zip tie to free them all apart. But now we're gonna go ahead and fish this line through, and it's gonna go up here towards the firewall. All right, tape down, just poke it through here. And there we go. See it coming up right here. So I'm going to finish routing the rest of this through, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so got that through. I'm now pulling it through here, and it's kind of running it along this harness that's along the edge. I'll go ahead and zip tie it down all along this edge, and then we'll look at how to get it through the firewall, which is through this location right here. I don't know if you can even see that, but we'll get closer in a second. All right, so now I've zip tied it along this edge. You can see there's some left over right here. Where we're gonna go is through this firewall location right here. There's a cap there that's gonna be replaced with this. So I think on the previous version of this, you actually had to drill this cap. Now we have this, which makes it a lot easier. So one thing I do want to mention, you can kind of twist this cap. You see these edges right here from this outside. Found it easier to go from the inside after you kind of know where it is on this side. You can press in with your fingers on the other side, it'll pop right out, and I'll show you that in just a second. So as you can see, here's the cable, here's the grommet. So we can just kind of press it in on this side. Well, we have a little bit more space to work with it. And just slide this up. And it'll slide up into that cavity and press it into that connection. Let me see if I can get you a closer look to that. You can see up there is the hole, and that's just gonna slide right up there. So like I've mentioned before, I mentioned before that this isn't crucial. You can probably fit your fingers up here and kind of just give a nice tug. But it's always nice to have an actual removal tool for getting this off. There you go. But if you don't have that, these usually come off with some effort. See? Something you'll notice is I have a pedal commander in here, so you can ignore that. That's not going to be on yours. But I'm just mentioning it because I have it here. So I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way for this project. And there we go. Now we're ready to mount this. And that's mounted using the rest of the parts inside the kit, which I will explain how to use in a moment. Next is simply mounting the control box to the plate for mounting. Super simple. Comes with some screws for that. I'm not really going to go too in depth on that. It's pretty cut and dry. Just grab your screwdriver, I think it's Phillips for it, and go to town. Alright, so I have this mounted on. You'll see it came with 4 washers for 2 bolts. So you'll put 1 washer on one side, 1 washer on the other side. There's a nut here. I would probably recommend, which I didn't mention before, just some pliers, or you can get the correct socket for it, but just one way of holding the nut and screwing it in. Be nice if this was a lock nut, and this would be less of an issue. But nevertheless, it's on. Make sure you have this plate, the smaller plate, facing this direction, and this long plate near the bottom. So now we're going to mount it using the bolt and washer that came with the kit. This washer is going to go behind this plate through this open exposed hole. Has double-sided tape to hold it there. And then additionally, you'll have to loosen, let me see if I can get you in there. You have to loosen a bolt that's an 8mm. So down here you can see this 8mm bolt right there. Grab your 8mm and loosen that. And that smaller bolt is going to slide right into this location. This larger hole is going to be for the larger one right here, where we're going to use the square nut that's double-sided taped. And then this side, you can see this big cutout. That big cutout is going to go over this other bolt. We don't have to undo anything with it. We can just leave it how it is right there. Let me go ahead and do that, and we'll move to the next step. All right, so I tightened up the bolt right here. You want to keep this one loose after you slid it into place, because you want to add on the button as well as the manual release. So I have the button here. You can see the manual release is going through this line and going through this cutout in the front. And then you'll see this back slit, and that's where it's going to slide in place over here. I found it a little bit easier to, when putting this bracket on, to undo these connections. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to go ahead and put them in now because they don't need to be undone anymore. But yeah, that was easier for me. So just an FYI on that. Once you've gotten the plate on, you can put these back. So I'm going to go ahead and put those back on first, and then this plate. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and slide this on now that I got those connectors in. This is all put together. It has a cable that comes out the side of it. Don't have to worry about it. It'll plug into the OBD2 harness, which we'll get to later. So let's go ahead and just pretty much just slide this into place, and then we'll have to tighten that bolt. So the bolt tightening part's going to be a little on the difficult side due to its location, but we'll see if we can make do. Make sure I get this on. There you go. Now you can see it slid into place. So then we're gonna have to worry about tightening that down. And as you can see, it's kind of at a tough location for a wrench to fit. But the wrench does fit. See, I can tighten it. It's just gonna take me a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and we'll then go to the next step. All right, that's in. It's tight. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, so that's in. This is in. It's also holding this plate in because it's sandwiched in there. Connectors are all in except for this connector for the OBD2. So now we're gonna move on to the next step. So next, airlines. We talked about color coding. Let's go ahead and bring the lines up, but you'll see just the white and the black. And the white taped part will go to the one with the white connector on here. That's a press fit connector. So these connectors are super easy. I'm gonna wrap this thing up here. So it can wrap around. Let's see if we can get it to come through here. So it's not anywhere near pedals. So obviously that's a very dangerous situation. So let me get in here and do that. Hopefully you can still see. And there they are. And exactly how I said, the white goes in with the white, black goes in with the black, and then we can tuck these up out of the way. Next up is the OBD2 harness. That is pretty simple. Move some of my extra equipment out of the way. So it's a pass-through, so pretty much just press fit this on, and it gives you a connection for another device, which is nice. Next up, it's also nice that it's fused. Always important to have any electronics fused, but we'll go ahead and route these wiring up through here so it's a little bit cleaner, and stick it into this connector on this side. See if you can see that. So over there you can see there's a connector right there, and so that'll go through there, and then one of these will go into the connector here. Just make sure you get the right one. Only goes one way. The other side, so there's the can. The can will go to that side of the vehicle. The other connector here will go into this one. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see the colors are color coded as well for the wiring. Makes it easy. I am going to go to plug all that in, and then talk about how to get the wire over that side. All right, so I got the wire routed through. I got all the other ones connected. You can see here's the connection going from the button to the control box. Routed it all up here so it's kind of out of the way from the pedals, because obviously wires in front of pedals is a dangerous situation. I'm going to zip tie all this and clean it up, but for right now we're going to get this wire through. This wire is going to have to get through all the way to the other side, and you'll have to open the glove compartment to access the connection it goes to. For now you'll have to find something to fish this through. There's lots of options for sticks and things like that, but most people typically have like a wire hanger. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing up or bend it up and use that to push the wire through. I'll show you that in just a second. All right, here you can see my wire that I fished through here. You'll find down here a harness that's kind of going through this little crevice. Or at least on my truck there's a harness. I just kind of pressed this through and then went over to the other side. So I've already taken out the glove compartment, and you'll see down here I have the wire fished through right down here, and then from there I can push it upwards and it goes into this box right here. So yeah, let me go ahead and get the wire through. What I'm going to be doing is taping it. So it's pretty easy. Just tape this to the end of the wire, and then pull it through, and it should come out the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, now you can see I got the wire through. It's right here. So you can go to any of the spots on this CAN bus connector. So I'm pressing it into there. That's in, it's tight. I'll probably just zip tie any slack there, and all the wiring is complete. So now we can start the next process, which just putting everything back together. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And or first, let's test this. So you'll need to start the Jeep for 1 minute, turn it off, turn on the ignition without starting the Jeep, and then turn off the ignition, and it should be done. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order for this thing to synchronize and function properly, so basically successfully connect to the CAN bus system, first you need to start the Jeep for 1 minute. So we're gonna give it about 1 minute from here. Kind of explain what this is doing. So what it's doing right now is it's supposed to do this procedure so that the CAN bus through the OBD2 port, everything that we've connected up, successfully I don't know, registers or detects that it's reading the CAN bus properly. So we're going to give it about 60 seconds here. We're going to then turn off the ignition, and then we're going to, after that, turn on to start without actually running it. So right now I'm just kind of trying to take up this time. This is the minute time. This is the only time that actually has to be timed in it. So 1 minute should be right in a few more seconds. We're gonna go ahead and shut it off. So run for 1 minute. Now we're gonna do off. Now we're gonna go ahead and press start without pressing on the brake. So now it's on run over here, but the ignition's not on. The engine's not running. Now we can turn it off, and now it should be synchronized. So let's go ahead and test it out. All right, so here you can see from the hood side, it's unlocked right now. You come up here and look. There's the latch. There's where the latch goes in. So that's how you release your hood normally. You'll notice, get a nice peer inside here. Let's try locking it. Right there. So that lever holds this in place and keeps it from releasing. And then if we unlock, there you go. So pretty trick, pretty cool. You can't see any of this, and outside you don't even know it's operating. We'll go ahead and bring the hood down. So you'll notice when it's normally unlocked, I can lift the hood up that far. Let's go ahead and lock one side. And then if I lock the vehicle, I can't even get my fingers in there to unlock it. Look at that. So it doesn't even lift all the way up. So let's try unlocking. And look at that, I can lift this up much higher, release it with my finger. So all in all, I think that's a success. Does exactly what I would expect it to do. Yeah, I'll update you at the end of this video after I use it for a little bit.